for Move Wellness, and today what we have for you is a class geared towards men. And anybody can do this class though, so all you need is your mat or some open floor space and your own body. So let's come on down to your back, and I want you to just lay here for just a second. Your palms are down by your side. And I'd like you to take your palms and turn them up and slide those feet just close enough, and you want you to notice that your feet are in line with your knees, which is then in line with your glutes. So with your palms turned up, you should be able to feel your shoulders nice and open and soft on the floor. So press those feet into the floor, just like you're going to try to stand on them. And then I want you to press your low back into the floor, and we're going to think about mobility for your spine. So lifting your hips up to the ceiling, one vertebra at a time. So you're lifting the hips up, bone by bone, lifting up off the floor. Take a big inhale here. And then we're going to roll back down, top to bottom. Really press those heels into the floor. Press the balls of your feet and your toes, all 10 toes into the floor. And let's go back up there again. You're pressing your feet into the floor. We're just doing a spine warm-up here to start. You're lifting up bone by bone. And then once you reach the top, inhale, and let's take a big breath out as you exhale, coming all the way down. Feel all 10 toes on the floor. If you start to feel your toes lift up off the floor, see if you can keep them down. We're going to do that again. Lifting your arms up to this, or your hips up to the ceiling. Now, once you get up there this time, think of your neck nice and long. And I want you to drop your ribs down towards the floor and keep your hips lifted. Stay there, take a big breath in, and lower down, one vertebra at a time. So let's bring your arms up to the ceiling as your hips are set down. Lift your shoulders off the floor and then lower them down. And just feel that nice shoulder blade movement in the back, lifting your shoulders and lowering your shoulders. And do that one more time. We're going to lower our shoulders down. Now, take your arms out to the side, and I want you to just come to a W here. So if you can, have the tops of your hands and your elbows on the floor. Now, let your back just settle into the floor here. This might feel like a stretch, but I want you to just hold it here just as loosely and comfortable as you can. So I want you to try not to grip in the shoulders, like let them relax nice and heavy into the floor. And if this is inaccessible, you can straighten out those arms just as much as you need to. The elbows and your forearms and the tops of your hands are on the floor. Let's do a hip roll again. So you're going to lift the hips up to the ceiling, keeping the chest nice and open this time. Inhale at the top, and then roll back down, starting at the top, down to the bottom. Your tailbone is going to be the last thing to touch down. See if you can do this with the elbows and the palms, tops of the hands rather, on the floor the whole time. You're going to tilt your tailbone to the ceiling. And then one vertebra at a time, peeling up off the floor. Nice open chest. Shoulders are relaxed. And then down. And we're going to come back up there one last time, curling the tailbone first. Nice and warmed up through your spine, keeping the toes on the floor and your heels, and then down, one vertebra at a time. Keep your arms right where they're at, and you're going to take one foot off the floor and then the other. Now just go ahead and let those feet fall heavy next to your glutes. And again, reset so that you have your elbows on the floor, your hands are on the floor, the tops of the hands, and as much of the forearm and upper arm as possible. Remember, if you need to straighten out those arms a little more, that's okay. You should feel your back flat on the floor here. Let those feet fall heavy. That'll give you some freedom to move. Lean the knees left to right, and don't let the shoulders come off the floor. And we lean it to the other side. Shoulder stays down. Let's inhale to lean it. And then you're going to exhale to bring the legs back to the middle. Inhale, lean. So think of your obliques here, the sides of your body, pulling those legs back through the center. Inhale, lean it. Exhale, center. Inhale, lean. Nice big exhale. Inhale, lean it. Shoulders down on the floor. Feel that connection between the floor and your shoulders and arms, the backs of your hands. One more time each side. And exhale, come to the center one more time. And bring those knees back to the center. And now we're going to bring those hands back down by your side. Let's place your hands on the, or your feet rather, on the floor. And press your palms now down into the floor, and press your shoulders into the floor and the back of the head. Now we're going to lift your hips up to the ceiling again, and just go ahead and just lift them up there. And once they're up, keep pressing your palms down and your shoulders, and the back of your head is nice and long. Press your left foot into the floor, that entire foot. Without letting the hips drop, I want you to lift your right foot up off the floor. Lower that foot, that entire foot's going to set down. Feel the entire surface of the bottom of your foot on the floor. Press it down, that right foot. Lift your left foot up off the floor. Lower that left foot down. Entire surface of your foot presses down, and lift the right foot. Lower it down. And we're just going to continue marching out here and really press those feet, the entire foot, into the floor. Keep the shoulders down. Keep the palms down. Keep your neck nice and long, so you're not gripping up into your shoulders here. We tend to let our shoulders right up by our ears with tension, and I want you to think of those shoulders just down away from your ears, and every time you lift the leg off the floor, that foot that's on the floor is really pressing down into the floor. And let's go 3 more marches. I think that's, anyway, going to even us out. Last one. And then lower our feet down, come all the way down, top to bottom, until your tailbone finally is resting on the floor. And I want you to turn those palms to face up again. Now you're going to lift your right foot up off the floor. So think of hamstrings and the tightness that we tend to have and cramping that we get in our hamstrings. Let's think of loosening up through our hip. So we're going to draw circles on the ceiling, and I want you to think of the hips are like sitting on a balanced scale, and so they're not wobbling side to side. So you're going to start to feel your abs working to keep your hips from wobbling. If you turn your palms to face up, you're going to have to work a little harder so you're not using your hands for help or for leverage. Soften your shoulders, let them melt into the floor, and as you're drawing these circles, this leg can be just as straight as you can make it, but be careful that the knee doesn't drift away from your hip. So we want the knee to be stacked right over your hip. Now switch direction with the circle. The leg is just as straight or as bent as you need it to be. And the hips are not moving. Notice your hips, they're resting on that balance scale. The scale is not tipping one side or the other. 6 or 8 circles one direction. And then we'll stop with that foot reaching up to the ceiling. Bring your hand to the back of the thigh. Straighten that leg out just as much as you can, and then flex and point your foot. Really, really pull that toe back and then reach the foot to the ceiling. Any cramping in your feet, just don't curl your toes. Try that. See if the cramping in your foot stops if you leave your toes out of the flex and the point. Now circle the foot around. We want to think of that nice big ankle circle here and switch direction. And just use your hand on the back of the thigh to draw that leg in just a little bit closer. Now we're going to straighten out that bottom leg. And this leg is just as bent as it needs to be. You're going to lengthen out the back of the leg just as much as you can. Now let's let go of that leg and let it float down just as slow as you can. Keeping your shoulders on the floor and keeping your neck nice and soft. You can start to bend this knee if you need to. Straighten that leg all the way out so that we can switch legs, sorry. That knee's gonna be bent. And now we draw circles, and you wanna imagine that your knee has a laser pointer right on your kneecap. You're drawing circles on the ceiling with that laser pointer. Your femur bone is a pencil. You're drawing circles on the ceiling with that. Straighten out that leg just as much as you can when you're doing the circles. It's okay if it's bent. We're trying to get that the hip loosened up, and then we will switch direction with your circles. I'm going to straighten out just a little bit, reaching out through the foot. You're reaching out through your toes, but don't curl the toes if you tend to get cramping in your feet. One more circle and reach that foot to the ceiling. Straighten out that leg just as much as you can. You can support it with your hands. Flex and point that foot. And really, really pull that toe back. And then really, really reach the toes to the ceiling. Or maybe not the toes, so you don't curl your toes and create any cramping in your feet. Just to get that mobility in your foot and ankle. Now circle the foot around. And we want to go both directions. And now your hand is on the back of the thigh, bent knee as much as you need to be. I want you to feel a stretch down the hamstring. So you have that leg Lengthen out as much as you can. And then we're going to straighten out the bottom leg. And then once you let go of that leg, let that leg float down just as slowly as possible. And come all the way down. Good. Bring your hands or your knees into your chest. Your hands are going to come to the backs of the thighs. Raise your shoulders up off the floor and just create the smallest ball you can. Doesn't matter how small. Just think of the smallest ball that you can. And now I want you to just rock it forward and back. We're going to come all the way up to seated. You can find your way up to seated any way you need to get there. And once we're up, we're all meeting at the top. You're going to have your hands in the backs of the thighs and just use the thighs for help to pull your chest towards the ceiling. Now I want you to use your hands on your thighs to press yourself back. And I want you to imagine somebody is pulling your back belt loop towards the floor. So my chest is still pretty much lifted here. Curl your tailbone under. Pull yourself forward again with your legs, reaching your sternum towards the ceiling. Press yourself back. Pay attention to your feet. They should be glued to the floor. Curl your tailbone towards the backs of your knees and reach that back belt loop towards the floor. Now let go with one arm and then the other. We're going to hold it just like that, or think of a bow and arrow. So I want you to take your right arm and reach it towards the floor behind you and bring it back to the center and go to the other side. All the while, that back belt loop is pulling towards the floor. Like imagine your back belt loop just reaching towards the floor, and the rest of your spine is staying in space. Exhale to turn. Inhale. Exhale, rotate. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Hollow out your belly even more. Inhale. Exhale, turn. Bow and arrow. Reach that elbow back. And 2 more. I think we need to go 3 to even ourselves out. And here's 2. And then here's your last one. And bring it all the way to the middle. Bring your hands on the backs of the thighs. Keep that roundness to your spine. If you pull yourself forward, pull your belly away from your thighs. Pull away, pull away, pull away. And then we come up all the way nice and tall. Pulling on those legs. Come over to the side. We're going to come to your hands and knees. Your hands are under your shoulders, and your knees are under your hips. So I want you to do just a couple of cat-cows here. We're going to round your back to the ceiling. Now, when you're in this cat stretch, think of that back belt loop again, getting pulled up to the ceiling. You want the emphasis to be in your low back, not your upper back, as you already have a nice flexion there. Now, drop your belly towards the floor, the head and tail lift. And then again, back belt loop. Think of that back waistband getting pulled up to the ceiling, and drop your head and tail away from that. And then drop your belly towards the floor, the head and tail lift. And one more time. Rounding to the ceiling. And then we'll come to the center so that we have a nice lengthened spine. So if you press the floor away, the shoulder blades are apart, and your sacrum, the flat part right at the base of your spine, is reaching towards the ceiling. Now pull your ribs up towards the ceiling, pull your belly away from your shirt. Now take a look at your hands. You're going to drag them towards each other like you're trying to create a wrinkle in your mat. And just hold that and find this nice connection there with the front of the body. You should feel that in your pectoral muscles. Now keeping that nice solid hands reaching towards each other like magnets. I want you to bend your elbows and then press it back up. Keep those hands dragging towards each other. Bend your elbows. Your elbows are going to bend towards your knees, like the inside of your elbows reaching forward, facing forward. One more time, bending your elbows. Keep those hands dragging towards each other. And let's release that for just a second. If this is comfortable, I want you to sit all the way back on your heels, just as far as possible, and reach those arms towards the end of the mat. And everybody's knees are different, how comfortable this is in your knees. Don't come all the way back if it's uncomfortable. Let's come all the way forward. Your hands are under your shoulders again. And if you take a look, your thumbs are under your shoulders, your hands are just outside your shoulders. And then we're going to drag those hands towards each other again. Press the floor away. Now draw your toes under, and this is the next step if you want to come here. You're going to lift your knees off the floor Keep those knees lifted. Drag those hands towards each other. Bend and straighten the elbows. And bend. We'll do 5. And bend. And 2 more. And then last one. Keep those hands dragging towards each other. Lower your knees. Untuck your toes. Now, release the hands so they're not dragging towards each other anymore. I want you to shift your shoulders beyond your fingertips. Now, you're going to do this only if it's comfortable in your wrists, and you're going to pull your shoulders back so they're now behind your wrists. And then shift your shoulders forward so that your shoulders are beyond your wrists, maybe fingertips. And then shift your shoulders back so they're behind your wrist. Now come to the center. We're going to make it a little more intentional. I want you to pull yourself forward like you're trying to create a wrinkle in your mat. You're going to shift those shoulders forward. Push the hands into the mat like you're trying to stretch out your mat, and your hips are going to shift back and your shoulders are going to come behind your wrist. Drag yourself forward. Push yourself back. Drag yourself forward. Pull the belly up. Pull your ribs to the ceiling. Push yourself back. Drag yourself forward. Push yourself back. A little further this time. Pull yourself forward. Maybe a little further yet. Push yourself back. And pull yourself forward. And one more. Push yourself back. And then drag yourself forward. And we'll come all the way to the center. I want you to walk your feet out so that we're more in a elbow or knee plank here. Lower those toes to the floor. Tuck your tailbone towards the backs of the knees. Now push yourself back. Maybe you'll sit those hips all the way back towards your knees. Pull yourself forward, only as far as you can, and then we'll bend our elbows. Press back up. Push yourself back. Back to your heels. Pull yourself forward. Your shoulders come forward. Bend your elbows. Press up, push yourself back. Pull forward. Shoulders come forward, bend your elbows. And I would like you to come only about halfway down in that push-up. If we come all the way to the floor, our tendency is to pause for just a second, and I don't want you to take any rest time. Push yourself back, pull yourself forward. And one more time, push yourself back, pull yourself forward. And we're going to come to a nice plank here, so press yourself up. Press the floor away, tuck your toes under, your feet are apart. Now lift your knees off the floor. Drop your tailbone towards the heels and press the floor away. Your sacrum is flattened towards the ceiling, and pull your belly away from your shirt. And hold that. And now the elbows or the knees are going to come down. And let's come over to one side. So we're going to be on your elbow on the floor. And when you are laying on the floor, I want you to think of the ribs almost hovering away from the floor, even as you have your elbow down. So if this is uncomfortable for you, know that you can always come all the way down to a bent elbow. You're on your elbow, or you're come all the way down so your head is resting on your arm. Once you're there, lift the top leg up, press the bottom leg down. Now that top leg is going to come forward, your foot is going to flex, and you're not going to fall over. Take that leg back, and then take that leg forward. And exhale to take it back, and inhale forward. Pull the waist away from the floor. Pull your ribs away from the floor. Let's go forward. Don't fall over, Laura. Take it back, and take it forward. The shoulders are down away from your ears. Let's go 2 more, and take it back. And then 1 more. And take it back. We're going to take the legs all the way together. Come back up to an elbow, or more of a side plank setup. Bend the bottom knee. Lift the ribs away from the floor. And then let's come to a side plank here. Top leg is going to lift and lower. And down. Point up. Flex down. And remember, you can still be all the way down on the floor if you need to. Elbow bent. And lift and lower. And lift and lower. The outside seam of your pants is facing the ceiling. Up and down. 2 more. Up and down. Last one. Come all the way down. I want you to sit your hips all the way down. Bend that bottom knee and take the top knee bent towards the ceiling. Your hand's going to be out to the side. We're coming into a side plank. I want you to take that hand away so my hand is out further than my shoulder. Hands on the top of the knee. So as you press yourself up, I want you to stack your shoulder over your hand. And then as you sit down, your shoulder's going to come behind that hand again. Let's come up, press yourself up, and down. And maybe add an arm, reaches up, and bring it down. And 2 more, and down. And then last one, press it up, hold it up, squeeze the thighs together, and then come down. Nice, let's go to the other side. So we started on your elbows, and it's your choice if you want to have the bent, elbow bent all the way down, or come to so your head is supported. If you're supporting your head with your hand, remember, you're going to drop your shoulders down. I want to think of dragging my elbow towards my ribs, lifting that rib cage off the floor. Press the bottom leg down, check out your legs, make sure they're the same length, lift the top leg up, flex the foot, it's even with your hip, take that leg forward and then back. When you take the leg forward, if you flex the foot, you'll get another nice stretch down the hamstring, and exhale to go back. Inhale forward, exhale back, pulling your ribs away from the floor the whole time, and forward, exhale back. 6 or 8 of these, press back, 2 more, don't fall over, and back, last one, and back, lower the legs, they come together, you're going to come to your elbows, lift your ribs away from the floor, press the floor away, lift the top leg, flex to lower, and lift, and lower, and up, exhale down, and up, and down, up, and down, 2 more, and down, last one, and down. Bring the bottom knee in, top knee opens up, the hand is going to be away from your shoulder, top hand on that top knee. If your ankles are together, and I didn't say this on the other side, but if your ankles are together, that is a good setup for your legs to be stacked. So you're going to press yourself up. Maybe you're just going to lift your hips off the floor just a couple inches, or press yourself forward so your hands are over, your shoulders over your hand. Press the floor away, sit back down. And let's do it again. Press through your feet to stack your shoulder over your hands, and then back down. Top hand reaches to the ceiling, and then come back down without plopping. So I want you to inhale maybe up and take a big exhale to come down. And 2 more, up, and exhale to come down. 1 more, let's hold that plank, side plank, squeeze the thighs together, hold it, your head is in line with your neck, your spine is nice and long, and then we melt down. Nice work, you guys. So thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. Be sure and like our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.